Okay, so I'm Becky Wells from Becky Wells Hypnotherapy, and this is...
I'm Paul Kennan from Sussex Injury Clinics.
And we're going to be doing a series of talks fairly soon in the Mid-Sussex area. And we just wanted to introduce you to each of us, just on a short 5-minute introduction, just telling you a little bit about ourselves, our history, so that it gives you an opportunity to meet us, ask us any questions, and carry on watching this video, because we are going to be hosting a whole series of videos which you'll be able to buy online after the events too. So you'll be able to take all these little bits of knowledge, these little bites of knowledge from us. So Paul, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are?
It's a bit of a long story really, I'll try and keep it short. I started off studying an undergraduate degree in sports therapy, health and fitness at Kent University, which I, in honesty, didn't actually know what I was getting into. I was playing rugby and working as a gap student in Australia, and before I went there I was fairly firmly advised by my parents that I needed a degree to come back to. So I chose something with the word sport in it, and it happened to be that, and it wasn't until I actually started the degree that I realised what I was getting myself into. Obviously I fell in love with it, and I've been doing it ever since. When I finished that, I entered onto a master's course, and it's been sort of evolved from there really. I've worked in elite sport in London, and I've worked with all sorts of different patients now, hundreds of different patients, from children to office workers to, as I say, elite athletes and all sorts, and sort of patterns start to emerge, and that, I think, as a therapist, starts to send you on the direction you want to work in. One of the questions that I'm sure you've got, and I've got several times, is, what's the difference between a physio, a sports therapist, a chiropractor, etc. And I think there isn't much really. Obviously your initial training is, but it depends very much more on the individual and what they want to study. So I've seen courses advertised, for example, such as osteopathic manipulative techniques for sports therapists or physios, or sports physiotherapy for the modern day chiropractor. So there's actually a lot of overlap now in terms of what you want to do. And so from my initial training, I've kind of started to become a lot more interested in society and psychology, and how we interact with each other, and how we respond to the various stresses that we experience on a daily basis sometimes, and how that affects your body. So kind of linking in the two, which I suspect actually is probably quite a popular theme nowadays. I think there's probably a lot of therapists doing that, but that's kind of my passion at the moment. I also, obviously, as you know, I have a huge passion for dogs, and I think the psychology that you learn around canine behaviour, I think, has actually reflected a lot in what we do, and how we interact in different social situations, and, as I say, how we respond to stress. So I suppose that's kind of fueled it a little bit. But
I feel like I need to brush my nose like a dog this.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Just to break it up. But yeah, so that's kind of what I do now. It's a combination of working with the body and working with people's psychology really. Starting to do a bit more intervention coaching, and helping people through various day-to-day stuff.
Have you got any real big highlights or things you look back on and think, oh, that was an amazing thing I did, or something you did? Any highlights that...
Personally or professionally?
Both.
Two things come to mind. One was a long time ago, which was a bungee jump in New Zealand. It's a sort of a bit of a token thing that people do when they're travelling, I suppose. But as I was growing up, my sister was always the one that went on roller coasters and stuff. I was terrified of stuff like that. I was a massive wuss. And I went with this group of friends, and it was kind of, I don't know, a culmination really. You're sort of there, and you don't really have much choice, and you sort of think to yourself, well, this is a defining moment. Well, it was for me anyway. And so I just jumped, and after that I was buzzing. I've got the DVD actually, so I might dig it out and we can post a little clip.
We'll post it up.
Yeah, but I was absolutely buzzing, and then when I came back from that, every time I came up against a challenge, as stupid as it may or may not sound, I used to reference it. I used to, I went to every theme park you can think of. I've been on every roller coaster you can think of, and half of them I came off thinking, was that it? Because I always used to refer it back to that, which was at the time terrifying, but exhilarating. So that's the kind of the personal thing. Professionally, I worked with a woman recently who was going to move to Thailand, and has moved to Thailand, and she was struggling with fibromyalgia, which is a contentious condition that a lot of people think is very psychosomatic and psychologically influenced, shall we say. which isn't to take away from those that feel it's a very deep-rooted physical issue, but I do think it is very stress-related, or certainly amplified by stress. So we did a lot of coaching and physical work, and I mean, the transformation that she went through was absolutely massive, far exceeded my expectations within my abilities to help her, and really gave me a confidence in what I do, actually, because she just changed so much. And the way she then actually ended up going off to Thailand was so much more confident, liberated, power, what's the word? Yeah, just confident, really. She was just approaching it in a totally different mindset, where she was exploring like the options, you know, oh, I could do this, I could do that, rather than thinking, you know, well, what if I do this, what if I can't do that, you know. She was very kind of constricted before, whereas afterwards, after we kind of went through the transition, she was very kind of liberated and looking for all the things she could potentially experience, which was really, really nice to see.
No limits.
Yeah, exactly that, no limits, whereas before everything was a limit.
Yeah. And I guess my kind of side of it from the hypnotherapy is that I kind of went on a self journey to get where I am. So my background was actually in an office working for the government for way too many years. I worked in the government for about 10 years, I suppose, and never got any promotion, and suddenly realised that I had absolutely no self-belief in myself, no self-confidence. So kind of tried to step out of my comfort zone and thought, I want to work with people. So I took, kind of like Paul, I love sport, so I took that kind of side of sport and thought, what could I do? I'll be a personal trainer. So studied to be a personal trainer with the intention of doing it around the government work, actually, and loved it so much. I quit my job, got a job in a gym, and the more I worked with people over those next probably 10-15 years of working in the gyms, I suddenly realised that I loved the psychology behind why people came in, why they had injuries, why they thought in different ways. So I kind of explored the area of hypnosis, and kind of on a self journey as I kind of went through the hypnotherapy training, I became more confident. So this little shy person from way back working in the government realised that probably she'd bullied herself as much as other people had bullied me on my journey without me realising. And I learned to stand on my own 2 feet. I set the business up, the BeckyWells.com website, the Becky Wells Hypnotherapy, and I learned to grow as a person. So I learned that, and I'm sure Paul will say the same thing, I learned that I'm never going to please everybody, but there'll be someone for everybody, you know, someone that will help that person, that I want to help all those people that are ready to be helped, that want my way of training, my way of learning. I want them to be themselves. And the one thing I learned over the last probably 5 years is that I've learned to be me again. I've learned that people like that enthusiasm of fun that I inject into even, I guess, the hypnotherapy work that I do, that I love them being able to go out and do exactly what they want to again, to live their life to the full, and also to not live your life in the future or the past. That's kind of one of the main things that I would say with my work is I said to someone this morning, one of my clients, that it's about living in the now. It's about, we don't know what's going to happen 5 minutes from now.
No.
You know, the light could fall on my head for all I know. But but I know what's happening now.
Something you said, sorry to interrupt you, but something you said a minute ago I thought was absolutely on the button. And you said about punishing yourself, and I think that is actually something that lots of people do. And I've done it. You know, a lot of the work that I do, as I've said to you, I mean, we've talked about this many times over coffees, where, you know, we tend to work as practitioners a lot, I think, through our own experiences. And by treating and healing other people, you actually end up healing yourself a lot of the time, whether it be physical or psychological. And that idea that people, you know, I think, as cliche as it might sound, and you hear it a lot potentially, which maybe cheapens it or cheapens its value because you hear it so much, but you tend to create the reality that you are experiencing. You know, and if you are stuck in a rut, or if you're not realising certain potential, or if you're, you know, not quite finding that thing that you're really passionate about, chances are you're probably creating that, and you need someone to kind of shift you out of it. And a lot of the time that is something like hypnotherapy or CBT or coaching or whatever NLP, you want to call it. It doesn't really matter what it is.
I think in NLP terms that's classed as the acting as if, and I have, you know, I've certainly tried it. I'm sure Paul has as well. When they say to you, if you're getting up and you feel like you're going to be in a bad mood, you set yourself off to be in a bad mood all day long. You get up and think, no, do you know, I'm gonna go out and enjoy my day. I'm just going to do that. I'm going to do that, even if I don't feel like it. But by about, I don't know, 10 minutes time, an hour's time, you're thinking, actually, I'm so glad I did that, because actually I would just sat and watch TV. I would have sat with my feet up and sulked and felt sorry for myself. We've all done it.
And this is it. We have all done it, and that's a big deal.
Yeah, you should have seen us. We were in tears before this, you know.
I was, because I've never sat in front of all this before, and I was quite nervous. But yeah. But it is. It's just the way it is. We all experience it. And
okay, so that's a short introduction to us. As you can see, we're very serious.
Short.
And come and join us in the talks. They'll be just as I want to say enlightening now.
Yeah, no, you can't use that word.
No. But yeah, look forward to meeting you at the shows.